Okay, from the Department of Plant Breeding and Genetics, Assam Agriculture University, we welcome all of you to this seminar online. We are organizing a national webinar with 6 lectures by 6 nationally eminent speakers. Yesterday we had 2 sessions, morning and afternoon, and today we have another distinguished speaker, Dr. Ajit Kumar Sasani. Now, this webinar we are organizing in the 50th year, Golden Jubilee year of the department. Now I welcome all of you to this webinar. To introduce Dr. Ajit Kumar Sasani, he was Masters in Agriculture Biotechnology from this university, Assam Agriculture University, Jorhat. In 1991 he passed. He had a very brilliant results because of securing the highest CGPA in his master's program. He was awarded 2 prizes, that is Professor Deveshwar Pathak Memorial Award and Dr. Kumud Chandra Bora Memorial Award in 1991. After his MSc from here, he went to IIRI New Delhi for his PhD in molecular biology and biotechnology. There also he proved himself one of the distinguished students. He passed PhD in 1996 probably, and there also, because of his outstanding academic merit, he was awarded IIRI gold medal. Then, as he has some time ago, he has mentioned, for 1.5 years or 2 years, he joined CPCRI, Kasaragod in Kerala. Then he joined CSIR Institute on Medicinal Plants, that is Central Institute of Aromatic and Medicinal Plants, CMAP, Lucknow, and where he is now continuing. Now he is a chief scientist in the Central Institute of Medicinal and Aromatic Plants. There, over the 20 years or so, he has secured a number of awards, say starting from 1999, CSIR Technology Prize for Biological Sciences and Technology for development of early maturing disease and pest-resistant menthol plant, Mentha arvensis. Probably his current interest is also in this particular plant, along with other plants. Then in 2000, he was awarded the CSIR Young Scientist Award in Biological Sciences for his research in Mentha. Then 2003, he was awarded the Umakant Sinha Memorial Award by the Indian Science Congress Association for genomic analysis and probably in again Mentha and IPR protection. 2004, he was awarded with the Best Patent Award by Indian Drug Manufacturers Association. 2005, he was awarded essential oil he was awarded by the Essential Oil Association of India for developing high-yielding mentha arvensis. Then 2007, he was elected fellow of CNAP. In 2012, he was awarded with CSIR Technology Awards for Biological Sciences for development and commercialization of anti-malarial drug plant Artemisia annua, where he gave the total technology for commercialization of this particular plant for medicinal uses. Dr. Sassani has more than 40 research publications in different national and international high impact factor journals. Well, aromatic medicinal and aromatic plants in agricultural universities, most of the agricultural universities, it is one of the neglected area till now. Even here also, not much work has been started. We have not started any serious research on medicinal and aromatic plants. Although Northeast, including Assam, and maybe in many other areas of the country, there are a lot of local medicinal herbs, plants, and maybe some other organisms. It is said in the villages, we have heard in the villages that there is no place to pass urine even, because you have to do that over the medicinal plants or aromatic plants. So that was the status. Probably that is no more nowadays because of the urbanization or negligence of people for maintaining the herbs and deforestations in large scale. We are losing many medicinal and aromatic plants from all over the places. So it is an important area, even in the current situation, say coronavirus situation, this area, aromatic plants, medicinal plants could be very, very vital. So we invited Dr. Sassani to throw some light to enlighten us about the development, genetic improvement of medicinal and aromatic plants, and he readily agreed, and we are very much thankful to him for delivering this particular lecture in this webinar series. We heartily welcome Dr. Sassani and all the participants, distinguished participants, faculty members, scientists, dear student friends from different institutes of India. With this, I again welcome all of you, and I now invite Dr. Sassani to present his seminar. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramanda. Thank you, Punnada, and my teachers as well as my friends and students' friends. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to be a part of AU family. In the past, I have learned a lot from Assam Agricultural University, and that's the foundation stone of my career. And really, in my life, whatever I have achieved from the knowledge. I went to Assam Agriculture University as a student, knowing nothing about genetics, biotechnology, but somehow I learned like people like Ratul Bora, Dr. Ratul Bora, Dr. M.H. Hazarika, Dr. Deka, and many more people who are role model in my career. And the seniors like Raminda and Punnada, they are also they are also the milestone in the development of genetics and biotechnology in this university. So keeping aside, this is the foundation stone of my career. I am thankful to Assam Agriculture University, my alma mater, for giving me a chance to speak about my experience, about my journey on this subject in medicinal aromatic plants. And I started from coconut research in CPCRI, but got transferred myself to medicinal aromatic plant fields in CSIR. So from that day onwards, I am working on medicinal and aromatic plants. Though my specialization in molecular biology and biotechnology, I started initially for the development of variety. That too, the RAPD was initially at that time started. It was new. Now nobody use RAPD. People use different markers. So what I have done here, I'll speak something about the medicinal aromatic plant, what I know. I will give most of the examples of CSIR CMAP, my colleagues and mine, which are being published or patented. By the way, we have already 23 patents in US patents in medicinal plant already filed, already granted in US, and around 24 or 25 patents in different processes already granted from US. And all these, along with our publications, including some of the publications people what they are doing in the world, that I have divided into several chapters. Like initially I will go why we need medicinal aromatic plants, then why improvement, what we will improve, what is medicinal plant and what is aromatic plants, what is the classical method of improvement, how we will follow that, and I will be giving specific examples of plants in different type of improvement. Then I will go to genomics. In CSIR CMAP we have sequenced the complete genome of Tulsi, and from genomics how we will get the metabolic pathway, and from this knowledge can we go for designer plants, and ultimately using the modern technology like CRISPR-Cas, how you can divert the metabolite to different pathway to get the better yield or harvest of different secondary metabolites. And at the end, I'll speak something about the northeast plants and which are the plants beneficial. CSR CMAP is now working in a mission project called ARMA mission, where I am the PI right now. So here we have around developed in the first phase of the mission, ARMA mission, aromatic plants mainly, all over India, around more than 2000 clusters, touching around 400 districts all over India, to increase the income of the farmer, giving that know-how to farmers, to tell them how to grow the plant, how to extract the essential oil, how to go for the different product formulation. So this will definitely improve the economic scenario of India gradually, and which is now little bit visible on the ground. In Northeast India, we are also promoting citronella, lemongrass, vetiver. In the bank of Brahmaputra, already some of the vetiver plantation is also there. So in that way, CSR CMAP is proceeding. I will not speak about on my work only. I will be taking the examples of my colleagues as well as CMAP's work. So give me 1 minute to load my presentation. Enter screen. Here. Yeah. Yes. So as I told, the topic is genetic improvement. It's not. Okay. The genetic improvement of medicinal and aromatic plants, starters and prospects. Okay. Okay. Okay, sir. So we know a lots of diversity exists in the plants. Once the Maharishi Atreya told there is no plant which are not medicinal in nature. So we have hydrophytes, xerophytes, insectivorous plant, halophytes, fungi, parasites, flowering, algae, fungi, many things. So there are these plants are diverse in their nature. So they always are in the environment facing the vagaries of nature like extremity, shocks, disease, microbes, insects, drought, salinity. Also there are some association, there is a complementation, a symbiosis, attraction, all this happening in the nature. The plants are still standing in the nature facing those vagaries. We have the immune system, but they don't have. But they utilize their secondary metabolites, which we call secondary metabolites, as the protection to fight against different type of stresses. There may be biotic stresses or abiotic stresses. So for that reason, they have in their armory terpenoids, alkaloids, flavonoids, glycoside, phenylpropanoids, lignans, saponin, polyketides, and you name the molecules in your own way, according to the plants. So there are many molecules, different type of molecules. There are different type of modifications there occurring inside the plant, and they use those actually to face the environment perfectly well and survive. And these are according to the niche, ecological niche where they grow. The plant growing, the similar species of plant growing in Chennai will be different than growing in Guwahati or in the northeast. I mean to say the morphological they may not be different, but chemically in the secondary metabolite production they may be different. So gradually when they are growing in this different region, they specialize to face the specific environment of that region and produce specific alkaloids. So what do we want from the plant? From the plant, do we need the total total chemical constituents improvement as a whole, a specific chemical constituents which is required for a specific drug? That we have to decide, and we take this knowledge from the plant to develop a plant, improve a plant, so that this can be utilized for specific drug purposes or prevention purposes or any other purposes that to our benefit. So the genetic improvement, what I am meaning to say, there may be traditional method, that's mean forward genetics. As a student of genetics, you know very well. Modern methods, reverse, and hybrid method. Then we can have the mixture of these two. But why we need improvement? There is a global demand of herbal medicine. This is increasing. I will not read out the statements. It's a major exporter of medicinal aromatic plants, India. Then should be promoted as a it is generally the medicinal plants nowadays, these are being collected from the wild. 80% of the medicinal plants are collected from the wild and 20% are grown generally. So still there is a big gap to develop these medicinal aromatic plants, improve the medicinal aromatic plant, and develop their variety and to develop different processes. Then this can be cultivated easily and by organic mode. Always there is a buzzword called organic food, organic medicine, organic medicinal plants, organic preparation. So this can be cultivated in medicinal aromatic plants can be cultivated in very degraded land, low nutrient available land, and in organic mode. India has about 9,000 licensed herbal drug manufacturers. And there are many more practitioners, many more fog healers, and all these these are there. So there is a need in India itself for the medicinal plants. So these are used for commonly for the health benefits like mint, basil, vetiver, jatamansi, lemongrass, mainly the essential oil bearing plants. There is a huge demand globally and are the source of income generation for the farmers. And these essential oils, though they are used for the health benefit, still then they are used in cosmetics. You see the cosmetic market, huge. They are used in sanitation, soaps, phenyl. You name the product. Then you have incense sticks, and you start your day with the aroma with toothpaste, and end with the day with aroma. Suppose a glass of drink or wine, again you have the aroma. So there is a huge demand globally. So can India be a hub of aromatic plant and medicinal plants? We know it is a mega diverse country. So to make that happen, instead of collection from the wild, we should have the medicinal plant grown, domesticated, cultivated, and then proper botanical reference standards should be developed, and it should be supplied to the industry or the traditional practitioner. So we call the plants medicinal and aromatic. And which plant will produce what? What determines it? As I told, a plant is growing in a specific niche, ecological niche, and facing a different type of environment than the other environment. That definitely, according to the face-off between the environment and the plant, the gene evolution takes place. It's not a one-day affair or two-day affair. It's a gradual. It is happening since time immemorial. So plants are evolving. Plants are evolving to produce specific compounds for specific use. So we call plant medicinal. We call plant aromatic. The plants which gives us a fragrance, we call them aromatic. Fragrance or flavor. The plant medicinal, which you use in the traditional medicine or phytopharmaceuticals, we extract through a different method and get the molecules out. And this the molecule. And these phytopharmaceutical methods, when you do, then it is exported outside, or if it is according to the Ayush mode, then we can have Ayush mode of preparation and get it licensed and sell in the country for different diseases. So when I told we should go for the improvement of medicinal aromatic plants, we have clonal selection, like all grasses like lemongrass, citronella, example, mentha, turmeric, satavar, and saffron. All these grasses, they produce slips. The slips are being replicated and cultivated and planted. These are vegetatively. Mentha produce sucker. Similarly, turmeric, satavar, saffron usually tuber or roots. These are being produced by these plants. Then population improvement, highly cross-pollinated seed propagated plants. Artemisia, Ocimum, catmint, chamomile, mainly Asteraceae family. Pure line, mainly self-pollinated seed propagated plants like papaver, mucuna, oidania, catharanthus. Mutation breeding, so you can go for any seed or any tissue, mutate it, either it grow in tissue culture or grow in the field and select the mutants. We can go for EMS or we can go for gamma irradiation. So I'll give you one example of these methods of this traditional method. what is being done generally followed. Clonal selection. This is the example of haldi. Haldi. So there is a fresh collection of 40 land races from northeast state, Tharu villages and all over India. Very variable behavior of land races, they were being noted. Single plant selection for 2 years were being done, purified. The clonal lines for all these 40 land races were being developed. The clones were then characterized for minimum descriptors. All the characters were being noted down. The superior clones were identified based on rhizome yield and curcuminoid content for further evaluation. 20 such clones were selected and carried forward to initial evaluation trial.
आराम से है ना?
Anything? Anybody want to say anything? Okay, sir. 4 superior performing clones in the initial evaluation trials were evaluated in multi-row advanced yield trial along with 2 checks, and now the plant Sim Pitambar developed, which were released by our Honorable Prime Minister of India on the Technology Day. So this is a high rhizome, high curcumin yielding variety of turmeric. This is around 54% higher rhizomes, 92% more curcuminoids. It has got 12.5% curcuminoids. Now it is grown, cultivated in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Odisha, Karnataka, West Bengal, and India is the largest producer of turmeric in the world. So definitely this variety will be going to will be a important milestone in the turmeric cultivation of India. कैसे बैठ जाते हैं? Population improvement. In population improvement, I will give the example of Artemisia annua. So the breeding origin and development of the variety, breeding approach. This utilizes the principle of recombination of superior genes from both the variety. Then enrichment technique of the genes, favorable genes for the resultant progeny. So this is a highly cross-pollinated plant. So in the first year, 2 genotypes were being taken. One genotype was taken, Jeevan Raksha, and in that high type and low types were being planted, identified and planted. And we started initially at 0.1%, and gradually in the polycross nursery, I'll tell you how the polycross nursery is being planted. Jeevan Raksha, I got it wrong. Sim Arogya and Jeevan Raksha. Sim Arogya is 1% and Jeevan Raksha is 0.1%. So both we went for the polycross nursery. Both crossing nursery have 10 rows and 10 plants each. All plants were analyzed for artemisinin content. Maternal selection was exercised for plants with artemisinin content of greater than 0.8. So this is the polycross nursery, how it is being planted. And the graph shows how the increase after continuous selection and bulking from the plant, from single plant selection and bulking. All the plants were being analyzed. Then we went up to 1.23%. Around 0.8%, the earlier variety Sim Arogya was there. Then we went up to 1.23%. So this variety now was being again released, and CSR, we got the CSR Technology Award. This is about the polycross nursery and for the highly cross-pollinated crop of Artemisia annua. And now India export to 40 countries the artemisinin based drug CMAP, which is a product of CSR CMAP and CSR CDRA. And this is alpha artemether based drug, which is being converted from artemisinin. and the import substitution, around 25% import substitution of artemisinin in India by cultivation of this plant Sim Arogya as well as the Sim Sanjeevani. This name was, the name of the plant was given as Sim Sanjeevani. Coming to the next one, pure line or true line selections. This is a self-pollinated plant. In Withania somnifera, generally the traditional practitioner, they prefer the root of Withania which is very brittle. So that when it is powder, it should be powder and it should be mixable in the milk or in any other any other preparation, honey or any other preparation. But Udaferin content of those plants which are generally being grown were less. So we thought of making a plants. The earlier examples what I give from my colleagues Dr. A.K. Gupta. Now this is from Dr. Tripta Jang. She is working on Withania somnifera. What she did, she went for a genotype which is very brittle in nature, the root is very brittle in nature and low in Udaferin. Another genotype which is high in Udaferin, the roots are high in Udaferin but non-brittle in nature, went for a cross. Then from the cross, the berries, it produced berries. Individual berries were having several hundred seeds. Individual berries were planted in a single plant. All the plants were grown in the field. Like this, from the berries, the plants obtained, they were again taken to the field and for 3-4 generations, the selection went on happening, single line selection. From there, a genotype was developed, Sim prusti. Now it is being that is converted to a variety. Now it is grown in different parts of India, mainly the semi-arid region of India in Madhya Pradesh. This is about the pure line selection. Mutation breeding. I'll give example of Silybum marianum. This is Silymarin producing plant. Silymarin is required for the liver. Now it is available in the drugstores. The Silymarin preparations. So this is for the liver therapy. Liver, if we are defecting in liver or attacked with some hepatitis, then recovery happens very fast if we take this medicine. Silymarin, containing Silymarin. This is produced from the plant Silybum marianum. So earlier, the plant was very tall in nature and the plant is having spikes. So it is very difficult to enter into the field and pluck the pods having to get the seeds. So we thought of developing a plant in CSR CMAP, and Dr. A.K. Gupta and myself, we all people are involved in that. The plant should be dropped, less pipe, and we should collect the seed nicely, collect the pod nicely. But they should also contain high Silymarin. For that reason, we went for gamma irradiation. 4 seed lots were taken, 50 seed each, and subjected to gamma irradiation. These bulk seed lots were again analyzed for 4 years in bulk. 1 seed lot each went for analysis, then went for the 4 years continuously. In the next 4 generation, half seed progeny selection was exercised, single plant, from the higher amount Silymarin containing plant with the character of dwarf nature, less spikes. And finally 12 population harvested in bulk, 4 top Silymarin yielding population along with Sim leaf are checked. Sim leaf was earlier variety, was evaluated in randomized block design with 3 replications. Then if you see how the Silymarin content was been increased in different generation and stabilized after 4th generation. So this variety was named as Simsil 9, Simapsil 9, and now it is being cultivated, contact cultivated by the industry, given to the industry as well as cultivated by the farmer and purchased by the industry. This is earlier the content was around 3 to 4%, now it is 6 to 8%. So this is the variety SIM 8%, having more than 8% of silymarin content. All this will happen when you have germplasm in the gene bank. So CSR CMAP is a recognized gene bank of medicinal aromatic plant, having a recognized gene bank of medicinal aromatic plant. So you have a seed storage facility of capacity mid-term 4 degrees centigrade, 18,000 accessions, and we have active collection at 20 degrees centigrade also. So number of accessions as I have given in the table, I will not read it. There are different genera, species, these seed samples seed samples are being stored. In the field gene bank also, the plants which doesn't produce seed but vertically propagated, those are being kept in the field gene banks. So once you have a diversity available in your hand, then it is very easy to get the genotypes. First step is selection from the germplasm. If you are not getting good genotype from the germplasm, then you can go for recombination or different methods like mutation breeding. Ultimately, those are all classical methods, but gradually I will come to the modern methods, what we do. Also, CMAP is having a PPB-FRA recognized center, DOS testing center, 125 MAPS variety are at CSR CMAP. This is a national repository of medicinal and aromatic plants varieties. So when we have a wealth of medicinal and aromatic plant collected in your gene bank, then it will be very easy, as I told. So I'll give an example again. The gene bank plants in Ocimum. When you have a gene bank in Ocimum, there are several accessions, several species. Then you first analyze them morphologically. What we did? Then we analyze them chemically. So there are methyl chavicle rich variety, linalool rich variety, methyl eugenol rich variety. Ask the industry what you want, which chemical constituent you want your preparation. So accordingly, you select this genotype, stabilize it and cultivate it. So depending upon the need of the industry, we should have the genotype or improvement in our hand ready. So these are the variety, around 10 variety in CSR CMAP in Ocimum of different chemotypes. Chemical constituents developed as per the requirement of the industry. They are now grown in all over India. And these are the pictures of those variety having linalool, high linalool content, high methyl chavicle content, methyl eugenol content, eugenol content. You name the compound, we may be having the genotype in our repository. Then stabilizing the genotype. We wanted, generally Ocimum is not survived during the winter season. It is a 3-month crop. So during the winter, if it doesn't survive, then we have to uproot the plant and throw it away. But if it survives, can we go for retuning? For this reason, we thought of developing a genotype, a cross between Ocimum basilicum and Ocimum kilmendis caricum. Ocimum kilmendis caricum is having the nature of surviving winter mildly. So we got a triploid. Through colchicine treatment, we made it amphitriploid so that it is fixed. And now the hybrid, which is amphitriploid, this is cold tolerant, having the character of Ocimum basilicum. Means the character of after lots of selection. That means we wanted the Ocimum kilmendis caricum cold tolerant characters should be introduced into Osmium basilicum background. So that happened. Now probably we will be sending a publications. Already the publication is under review. So this will be coming out. So this is the plant. This is the plant having high amount of linalool content, which was earlier present in Osmium basilicum variety, but cold tolerant. Now we can go for retuning of this plant, and once in the field, we can have after 3 months we will cut it again, and it will regrow, and we will go all over the year growing, not only for 3 months. Then coming to the modern method. So we have molecular breeding, genomics, transgenic, and ultimately the CRISPR-Cas. In molecular breeding, again the example is an Artemisia annua, the development of SIM Arogya. So we have a genotype earlier which was having 0.1%, as I told, Jivan Raksha, which was grown for 3, 4, 5 generation. Around thousands plants from each generation were being analyzed, brute force method. And we saw, because this is a cross-pollinated plant, somehow some of the plants, after accumulating certain genes, so they are increasing in the content of artemisinin. There is increase in the content of artemisinin. So we analyzed up to 4 generations and saw how they are progressing, how they are clustering, and went for the profiles. At that time RAPD was available. So we got a marker and convert it to scar marker. Now it was easier for us to, with the help of scar marker concentration in the plant, we started selecting the plants. And after 4 or 5 generation of selecting plant, same plant having higher amount, so first it went to up to 0.4, then we bought the seed again, grown the plants, and 1,000 plants again screened, it went up to 0.5, then 0.6, 0.8, 0.9. So like this, we went up to 0.9% in SIM Arogya. But stabilized, it came back again, and now it is stabilized at 0.8%. So this patent, this plant was scar marker, as well as the plant was being patented in USPTO, in the United States Patent Office. So as I told, this is the marker, and this is the high-low scar marker, how it is being developed, and this scar marker was utilized to select the plants, and this is the initial revolution of artemisinin production, indigenous artemisinin production in India. This plant is a Chinese plant. Luckily, we could get it in Kashmir region, growing somewhere. So we got this plant 0.1%, from 0.1% to 0.9%, 0.8 to 0.9%. We increased initially through this molecular breeding, scar marker, and it is found to be a transcription factor. And from this plant again we went for polycross nursery, as I told, giving the example, through conventional breeding. We went for SIM Sanjeevani, which is 1.23% artemisinin content, and ultimately for this region CSR CIMAC was awarded with the technology award of 2012. Coming to the genomics and transgenics, don't go into the picture, this is a complex one. It says the pathway may occur in different plants. The classical synteny definition is different, but now here I am telling about the synteny of the biochemical pathway. The synteny of the biochemical pathway means the menthol biosynthesis may be occurring in mentha, but the menthol biosynthesis is also occurring in Ocimum, but the amount of menthol in mentha is very high. The amount of menthol in Ocimum is very less. So the genes exist. Like this, Patchouli produce Patchouli skeletons, Patchouli alcohol. Linalool produced by Osimum, linalool produced by many other plants. Borneol, myrcene, sabinine, monoterpenes, different monoterpenes are present in many plants. Similarly, different sesquiterpenes are present in many plants. Different triterpenes are present in many plants. When the terpenes molecular weight increases, the volatility decreases. So the smaller terpenes like monoterpenes and sesquiterpenes are aromatic in nature. So they are emitted by the plant, come to the environment, diffuse and give aroma. But when the molecular size increases like diterpene, triterpene, they are medicinal in nature. They are medicinal ursolic acid, triterpene, rosmarinic acid, triterpene, uranolides, triterpene, glycosides, triterpene glycosides, they are medicinal in nature. So we cannot make a barrier of medicinal and aromatic. Even if the plant is aromatic, it may be medicinal in nature. So as I told earlier, no plants which is not medicinal, that means all plants which are medicinal in nature. This is a similar way, this is the different way of explaining this complex slide which I have shown earlier, and I have shown the same molecule present in many plants. That means the biochemical pathway is occurring in many plants. But which gene is active? The gene which are produced there, or the transcription factors which are actually helping the pathway to operate in a better way, that we need to understand through genomics. The red line in the middle differentiate between the primary metabolites and the secondary metabolites. The secondary metabolites are below. And those plants I have written down: the terpenoids producing plant, alkaloid producing plants, phenylpropanoid producing plants. That doesn't mean that exclusively these plants are producing this particular metabolite. In contrast, in other way, if I say they are producing dominantly these metabolites, but they are also producing other metabolites simultaneously in minor amount. So for this reason, to understand this thing, we took the plant Osimum. We sequenced the genome completely, sequenced the chloroplast genome, and this is the plant, and analyze the chromosome. It is having a very small chromosome number, less chromosome number 16, 2n is equal to 16. And the figure in the down says about the genes of terpene synthase. So the genes of terpene synthase, we thought, because Osimum is a plant which is producing around 200 type of terpenes, different type of terpenes, analyzing the terpenes genes. And these plants is having actually 72 genes, 46 genes are in perfect operating condition, and rest of the genes are either pseudogenes or producing very minor amount of different type of unknown terpenes. Then we went for the transcriptome, holy basil and sweet basil. That means the Osimum sanctum or Osimum tenuifolium, what we call, and Osimum basilicum. We went for comparative analysis. Then we analyzed the genes, which are the genes in different pathway: terpenoid, carotenoid biosynthesis, phenylpropanoid biosynthesis, flavonoid biosynthesis, and all other genes for secondary metabolites. Now we have 6 species transcriptome already available in hand, and we are comparatively analyzing which are the genes present in which species exclusively, and which are the chromosome number, how many chromosome number, and how the genes are being expressed, so that to determine the species is this species only, this produce this chemical only. Suppose terpenes are dominant compound in Osimum kilmendiskericum, but phenyl propanoids are dominant compound in Osimum. Those slides are not seen. This may take a different lecture completely. So there is a synteny pathway, though there is a synteny, but dominant molecule. What tells the plant to produce this particular compound, phenyl propanoid in one species, but terpenoids in another species? Then coming to the drought, as I told earlier, we analyze Osimum sanctum in cold, clod, drought and salinity condition. So how the transcriptome and which are the genes actually expressed or repressed during all the steps, which are the common factor, which are the common transcription factor, and which are the genes this transcription factor actually inducing to produce more of that particular transcript, and ultimately the compound or the genes compound or the molecules which are present in whether the secondary metabolites are responsible for tolerating this cold, clod, drought and salinity. So this has been published recently. So from this we have a genomic resource. So we have a genomic resource of Osimum tenuiflutum, Crassophogon gingivalis, that is vetiver, Pelargonium gravidalis, Cymbopogon flexuosus, Mentha piperita, arvensis, Osimum africanum, Gratissimum, basilicum, kilmendiskericum. So and it is increasing. The in our lab it is increasing. The genomic resources is increasing. So from there, so we have cloned terpene synthase genes. These are the terpene synthase genes in different plants. Number indicates the number of full-length terpene synthase genes. Those are being isolated, cloned in different plants. Means, these are the transcripts, full-length transcript, but 21 is now cloned in hand. 21 cloned full-length genes are in hand. So where they express? They express in different specialized structure in different plants, like Artemisia annua trichum, Pelargonium gravidalis trichum. There are three types of peltate, capitate and glandular hair. In peltate trichomes, these are the specific type of trichomes which actually store the essential oil or the terpene components or phenyl propanoid components in it, and their storage structures are different in different plants. Artemisia, Pelargonium, Pogostemon, Osimum, Mentha, they are similar type of storage structures. Then the other plants like grasses, vetiver, Cymbopogon, and other plants like Tagetes, these are not grasses. Tagetes as well as Curcuma longa, the storage structures are different. The terpenates are stored in different structures. So, but how these storage structures are being formed? Which are the cells having the potentials to form these storage structures? Can we get the answer from the transcriptome of the trichomes? Yes, that also we are working on. So these are the genes, as I told, producing these monoterpenes are being cloned. These are the sesquiterpene genes which are being cloned, and one of the sesquiterpenes, that is viridifluorol synthase, was being overexpressed in Mentha. Mentha produces around 0.5% of viridifluorol in its essential oil. By cloning this gene overexpressing and by selecting 2-3 generations, we could get around 25% viridifluorol in the essential oil. So now the Department of Biotechnology has given a project to field test this plant. Maybe in near future we can come out with these plants, because we are not eating this plant. We are only extracting the essential oil from this plant. So this viridifluorol is a molecule which increase in lactation in animal, as well as it's a compound which is having fragrant in nature, which stay long in the fragrance. So there are several such type of molecules which are present in the plants, which are minor in nature, produce very less amount. Can we make higher amount of these molecules in the plants by making designer plants? This is a designer plant. So now this plant is available, and now it is undergoing field testing. So these molecules will definitely having importance in future. Then we went for the mentha analysis and mentha some basic analysis, mentha pipiretta transcriptome analysis. Then we saw from there we cloned the genes that the last part of the pathway, menthol dehydrogenase. In mentha pipiretta we could get three menthol dehydrogenase isoforms. In mentha arvensis we could get 3. So these genes in mentha pipiretta, around 40% is being menthol is being produced, but more than 80% menthol is being produced in mentha arvensis. Why? To understand this, we found out this is a bifunctional enzyme. The enzyme produces menthol, other produce new menthol. So these 3 genes, 3 isoforms having different capacity of producing menthol and isomenthol. So at a specific time, operation of these 3 genes, whether they are producing menthol or isomenthol depending upon the environmental signal, determines the production of menthol amount in this particular species, which is consistent. They have stabilized. So interaction of these 3 genes with the substrate to produce menthol or converting menthol to neomenthol, and if neomenthol or isomenthol present in the essential oil of mentha arvensis or mentha pipiretta, the crystallization of menthol hampers. This is detrimental to the crystallization of menthol, so you cannot get crystal. So accordingly, to improve the genotypes, you need to understand the basics, what is happening at the genomic level. So that production of menthol and isomenthol, how the enzymes they behave, different type of different enzymes. So this is the biochemical, this is the pathway of production of menthol and in different species of mentha. If you see mentha gracilis, it produces carbon, mentha spicata also produces carbon, piperitone is being produced by mentha longifolia, mentha spicata viridis produce mentha piperitone, mentha pipiretta produce menthofuran, mentha arvensis produce menthol and isomenthol, mentha gracilis produce pulegan, then lilanol by mentha citrata. So all the species are these are all species of mentha, but their pathways, though all the pathways occur, they are specialized in production of some of the molecules in a dominant way. Other pathway of the molecule, other part of the pathway are either being suppressed or not operated efficiently. Why? Unless and until we understand those things, it will be difficult to improve or create a designer plant. What we did, this is the pathway as I told, these are the molecules. So we stopped menthofuran biosynthesis pathway in mentha pipiretta, so that the menthol is being diverted, so that the flux, carbon flux was being diverted towards menthol. Now mentha pipiretta produce high amount of menthol, like mentha arvensis. In the similar way, clone the genes of menthofuran synthase in mentha arvensis. So definitely now mentha arvensis, which was not producing earlier menthofuran, now start producing menthofuran, reducing the amount of menthol, and some of the flux is being converted towards diverted towards menthofuran. So these are all designer plant we can create according to our own will if we understand the basics and how the pathway operate. Or if there is a synteny there in the pathway. We have a genotype in mentha arvensis which produces around 65% pulegan. Generally pulegan is very low amount in mentha arvensis because the pathway operates towards the menthol. If menthol is being converted from limonene to isopiperitonol to piperitonol, isopulegan to menthol, then the pathway operates in a very vigorous way to produce menthol, and pulegan detection will be less. There will be less pulegan because those are being converted towards menthol. But now it is blocked. Somehow This is in the germplasm. This is one Mentha arborescens species which we developed to a genotype also, a variety also, industrial variety containing high amount of Pulegan. So we thought, can we convert the Pulegan of this genotype to Menthofuran? A Menthofuran is having high commercial value. So we can. We are now got some genotypes, some plants, and we are testing those. So this can be done. Then functional analysis, RNAi. So if you see the red gap in the pathway, shikimic acid, phenylalanine, cinnamic acid to comaric acid in Artemisia annua, this is a phenylpropanoid pathway, nothing to do with the artemisinin biosynthesis pathway. Artemisinin is a product, it is a sesquiterpene. So if you block at the point of cinnamic acid, what happens? The downward lines like cinnamic acid, which produces lignins, ferulic acid G lignins and comaric acid H lignins, those hampers. Though, okay, we are not, or if we are not bothered about the lignins, then let us stop at the cinnamic acid point and cinnamic acid accumulates. This accumulation of cinnamic acid converted to benzoic acid to salicylic acid, and salicylic acid is a very good elicitor of artemisinin. So internally in the plant there is accumulation of salicylic acid which ultimately influences the artemisinin, which is a sesquiterpene biosynthetic pathway. In planta, in the field ex vivo, if we spray salicylic acid, also there is increase in artemisinin. So this proves in the plant we can design through RNAi stop a biochemical pathway. But what is the negative point of it? There is less lignin in the plant. Plant becomes succulent. The phloem and xylem, those are having less lignin deposition. So when lignin is less, the phenylpropanoids are less, there is insect attack. What do you do now? Now we are doing overexpression of PAL, so that there will be higher cinnamic acid. The pathway will operate. The lignin will be produced. The cinnamic acid will be converted to salicylic acid, some amount. Then artemisinin content will increase. So we have to understand how the pathway operates, whether a pathway is having significant influence on another pathway, which are the molecules we want. In Artemisia annua, we don't want phenylpropanoids much, only for the maintenance of the plant, the lignin synthesis, or to fight against the disease, but we want higher amount of artemisinin from the herbage which we get in the plant to get higher amount of artemisinin. Not only that, by simple intervention of nitrogen treatment, if this slide shows, if you increase the treatment of nitrogen, ammonical fertilizers, then will be increase in udaverin. This is through Warki one master transcription factor induction. This we could find out while doing some experiment in the field. When ammonical fertilizer is being given, then we took to the lab and started analyzing what is happening. Then we will find out the Warki transcription factor, and there are several, one or two paper in New Phytologist and other journals subsequent to this publication. So now we could find out that Warki transcription factor helps in a major way and influenced by nitrogen, ammonical nitrogen, to increase the udapirin content. So these biochemical pathways are being influenced without going into a transgenics. If you analyze the genes, which are the genes to be influenced by the external stimulus through elicitors or through normal packaging practices, there will be improvement in the medicinal plant, medicinal product. Similarly here, overexpression of SMT1 gene and also RNA of the SMT1 genes. We could tell that uranolide biosynthesis is through campesterol against stigmasterol. Cholesterol doesn't play a role here. So if you go for RNAi and stop SMT1, this is this is very no need to go into the detail of the biochemical pathway. Just this is the biochemical pathway of ethanolyte biosynthesis. Let us understand that. This is a triterpene. There is a gene SMT1, which is a branch point gene. So if we stop that gene, then we can understand there is less in ethanolyte. So if we overexpress this gene, there is a higher amount of ethanolyte. And the amount of sterols, like cetosterols, stigmasterols, campesterol, this increases, cholesterol doesn't increase. When ethanolyte increase. So there is a circumstantial evidence. So we can say, if we by making a plant transgenic of a gene which is crucial in nature, increase the end product, and through which pathway, which way the flux is being translocated, then we are giving a mechanistic overview of that pathway and ultimately achieving the aim to increase the amount of that particular metabolite in the plant. This is again RNAi, ADT gene, this is a phenylpropanol pathway, again a complex pathway, but no need to enter into that. This is the benzoid molecules in petunia flower. When you smell, you smell good. So this is because of the mixture of different benzoids. People were saying previously that through phenyl pyruvate from prephenate, Shikimate pathway, prephenate to phenyl pyruvate, phenylalanine is being produced. But we could say that the RNAi, through RNAi of doing the RNA of aragonate dehydrate gene, we could say that no, this is not the phenyl pyruvate prephenate pathway, but it is through the ADT pathway. All the benzoids through phenylalanine, these are being produced. So you can see the decrease when RNA is being done, all the benzoid molecules decrease occur. And when you go for the complementation by giving phenylalanine, then there is increase in the benzoids. So like this, you can prove and manipulate. I will not use the word manipulate. You can intervene in the biosynthesis of specific molecule if you understand which are the genes crucial. Similarly, you could understand but through RNAi approach, so different compartmentalization of different benzoid biosynthesis in petunia flower. So this is coming to a slide. This is CRISPR-Cas. In CMAP, what we are doing, there is a genotype of Ocimum basilicum which produce high amount of linalool. But in Ocimum, rosmarinic acid and other triterpenes are highly desirable. So the pathway exists. So if we stop the monoterpene linalool biosynthesis pathway, then can we increase the amount of triterpene, rosmarinic acid and other triterpene, oxalic acid, other acid, triterpene acid, which are highly important and highly required in the market, desirable in the market. And we don't want a transgenic plant having a gene like those genes, marker genes. So in this way, if you can stop the production of linalool through CRISPR-Cas, then 76% linalool is being produced in this plant. So whether the flux can be diverted towards the triterpene, that we are seeing it. So like this, different institute of CSR, they are working on CRISPR-Cas on cannabis, CSR, IIIM, NBRI, CMAP, IHBT, the Coleus phoscali, Camellia sinensis, silencing polyphenol oxidase, Udania somnifera, NBRI, Artemisia annua, Ocimum basilicum, we are working on that. So different type of genes, if we stop or if we clip through CRISPR-Cas without the introduction of the marker, this should not be called as a transgenic, and this will be easily released as a normal variety. So that's the motto, to work on CRISPR-Cas. So these are all the modern method. Then ultimately what you do, you go for genes. When you know the genes, know the basics, can you synthesize hybrid genes? Yes, you can. You can have geraniol linalool hybrid, which produce geraniol and linalool together in a plant. If you make a hybrid gene and introduce into the plant, like this, you have many more genes, domains defined, which domain will produce, if the domain will be 40%, 50%, 60%, which are the molecules in different proportion, how much proportion, you can dictate the plant to produce those molecules in specific proportions. Sometimes the genes which are, they are leaky in nature. So the genes, they are sometimes diverse, produce diverse metabolites in nature. So accordingly, when you understand those genes, going to the genomics and experimenting in the plants itself, then you can find out the nature and go for specific genes, design those genes, design your plant, and using the classical breeding method, you can have wonders in medicinal aromatic plants. So biotechnology intervention, what you can do in aromatic plants? Pathway of gene taking into account the available terpene synthase and ESTs from heterologous system, aroma transcriptome, aroma proteomics, trichome genomics. I told trichome genomics, how the trichomes is evolved, function genetical genomics, marker assisted breeding, terpene synthase library, aroma library, comparison of key TPS and investigation of differential expression, promiscuous and stringent expression. I told the genes are like promiscuous expression and stringent expression. Then domain swapping and aroma synthesis in plant, engineering plants for novel aroma molecules, also engineering plants for novel medicinal molecules. If we have a cytochrome, you have understood a cytochrome which oxidizes a specific point in a stereospecific manner, then you can utilize that gene to change that particular molecule instead of going for the synthesis of that molecule. We can have only getting the plants through these methods is not enough. We should develop specific agrotechnologies for them. I will not read out the agrotechnologies which we should develop. So I will give specific example. As sir was telling previously, my first love is mentha. So we have developed different genotype. If you see the first graph, the first genotype is MAS1, and we went up to Synkranti. So the days of maturing of these plants were higher, around 140 days in the first variety, to around less than 100 days in the last variety Kranti. Oil yield that started increasing. So what is desirable? The maturity time should be less and the oil yield should be higher. So that brought a mint revolution in India, and now India is the highest producer and exporter of mint, oil as well as menthol. So see the area of cultivation and production in tons. Because of those variety in different specific point of time, the area of production has been increased as well as production in tons has been increased. The last part, there is a decrease because of availability of synthetic mint. But people that don't prefer synthetic mint because of I don't know, generally we have a affinity towards plant-based product, so that the increase in demand you can see in the last part, gradual increase. Again, there are several problems in Artemisia annua. Process for large-scale isolation of artemisinin from the plant, conversion of artemisinin into a stable compound, suitable formulation for administration of efficacy toxicity testing. So all the problems were solved. A suitable variety was developed, just like I told earlier, Sim Arogya and Sim Sanjeevani. So the see, Asa, Jivan Raksha, Jivan Suraksha, Arogya, Sanjeevani, if you see, the yield in herbage has gone up in all those variety, and yield of artemisinin in percentage has gone up. So, in this way, strategically, from 1996 to 2015, we are in a position to substitute around 25% of import of artemisinin from other part of the world, and we are targeting 50% import substitution in future. Similarly, in cost, whatever, we should develop salt and stress environment for the seashore. Already we have genotype which are called flood resistance, flood tolerant, so not resistance, tolerant. They can grow if 10 days, they are dipped in a flood for 10 days and they will not die, but 10, 15 days, again they will grow. They can grow in degraded soil, they can grow in less water soil. We need a variety in future to have more tolerance towards salt and other stress environment, though some of the variety like KS1, Gulabi, Dharini, Briddhi and Kusinalika, these are having a moderate stress tolerance level towards salt. Ashwagandha, I have told you earlier, the lots of benefit to the farmer. The genotype or variety we have developed now, it is grown. Ashwagandha is grown in 10,000 acres of land all over India, and CMAP variety like Posita, Nimitli, and now Sim Prusti, it has gone to the farmer's field. Coming to the northeast in the last part. So it is a area of 260 to 230 kilometers square. It's a 50% of the Indian's total plant diversity. As Sar was telling earlier, there is no place, all the plants in the villages are medicinal. Harbors 40% of Indian endemic plant species. So there is lot of potential for anti-cancer plant, lifestyle diseases, natural personal care products. But thing is that how we will create demand for those plants. If I say this plant is curing my fever, or this plant is curing my curing some lifestyle diseases, reduces the weight, people will not buy it. We have to have scientific validation for that. Unless and until we do that, there is no point having lots of different medicinal plant unrecognized. Only 1 or 2% they have experienced those things that have no meaning. So we should create a market. The lemongrass, ashwagandha, citronella, these plants, they have market. So we should have utility of the plants described scientifically. Then only we will come out with, we have wealth of resources, but how to utilize them? So these are the medicinal plant described, and mainly the red color plant which I have done, Aqualaria agarwood plant, Nardosassis jatamansi, Taxus wallichiana, Valeriana jatamansi. There is no alternative to those plants. There are many orchids, medicinal orchids, those are being exported. The utility, though, has been described, not analyzed scientifically. There are some plants which are under threat, like Picoraja curva, Berberis asiatica, Jatamansi. If we re-establish the plant Nardosassis jatamansi in northeast, it will be a great service to the nation. This plant, the tuber, is highly aromatic in nature, preferred all over the world. It is not available in NIST. They are working on the medicinal plants like Stevia, Rebaudiana. That's the plant which gives artificial sweetener. Tinospora cadifolia, Curcuma cassia, Solanum cassiorum, Clerodendrum, Gingiber jumboid, Piper lungum, Androbaptis paniculata. These are the plants they are working on. Missed. But I see the potential of Equalaria, that's agarwood plant, Java citronella, lemongrass, vetiver, and Jatamansi. Citronella, one of the center of origin is Northeast India. It's known for citronella. CSRC map in Aroma mission is also promoting Java citronella, which is that one island inside the Brahmaputra. That island is being Majuli, correct, Majuli. This is being people are being given vetiver because lots of soil erosion is there due to Brahmaputra. So they are going vetiver. Some of the people came to CMAP to take training, lemongrass and Java citronella. So these are the plants I have collected from literature, which are the plants which are very highly important in nature. Well, they should be properly studied. These are the plants. I think I will stop here. I thank again Ravinda and all the organizers, all the officials of Assam Agricultural University inviting me to speak my mind in my own university, which I love. I love to come there, but till now I'm not able to get a chance. I'm thinking I'll go next year. Now Corona is there, so I cannot go there now. I thank all the funding agencies and my own institution, CSRC MAP, for which CSRC MAP to help and fund to come to this level, working in this field. Whatever little knowledge I have, I will always share once the farmer or entrepreneurs they want me to do so. At any time anybody wants a training on medicinal aromatic plants, we will try to arrange it through webinar or any training happening in future in a mass scale, they can join. And I have full respect for Assam Agriculture University and I love my university. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, इसको this is by RNAi. RNAi only. No, yeah. It is applicable in all the plants if you have a fair knowledge on the genome. It is not necessary that you should know the whole genome, but it is better, it is understandable that you know the whole genome so that the non-specific working is less. But if you have the genome, it works better. If you don't have the genome, maybe in a homologous plant, in some other genome having similar genotype, then you can utilize this technology. It works in crop plant, it works in medicinal plant, it works in any plant. Uh, ah, okay. This mentha around 10 varieties are there. I cannot say the exact number. I am working on Mentha since my joining here. But around 10 varieties are there, and we have around 27 collections, accessions, and we have analyzed those accessions having similarity with Mitcham variety of USA, which is preferred a lot in all over the world. So we have genotype and variety. We have genotype and accessions collections which are matching different essential oil constituents all over the world. Moroccan mint, American mint, French mint. Uh, we have. And coming to the next part of the question, that's a health benefit. You may read my paper, one of the paper, the Mentha helps in apoptosis of cancer cell line. It is antibacterial in nature. It helps to build up the microorganism also in the gut microorganism. It helps in killing the differential microbes which are not beneficial. I can go on telling the benefit of Mentha. Go on telling the you can Google and also get it. Till now I don't find. I don't. Yeah. Yes. Uh, yes. It can be done. It can be done. We can have a collaborative project. Why not?
The Roman, there are faculty members from AAU as well as from other universities. Some of them may be interested to interact with Dr. Sasani. Anybody? One student was inquisitive, wanted to know, when you designed a plant, you have shown the biosynthetic pathway. You just introduced a block. How do you do it precisely, or it is just a random process?
Okay. Okay. Uh, when you want to block a pathway or stop a gene, there are several methods. One is your antisense RNA, another is RNAi, another is CRISPR-Cas. CRISPR-Cas is 100% success nowadays. RNAi, you have to select the plant which is 100% actually not expressing. But in RNAi, you will get differential expression. Maybe percentage of expression will vary in different plant which are transgenic to the RNAi. So 100% if you want to stop that particular function, but it should not be an essential function of that plant. If you stop an essential function of the plant, then the plant may not survive, or the plant may be susceptible to some disease and stresses. For that reason, you should get a plant which is not 100%, maybe 80% expressing that particular stopping of that particular gene. It depends upon your wish, how much expression you want. You can generate a number of plants, and from there you can select what is the percentage you want. I think I'm clear about the answer.
Anybody? We have our colleagues from the biotechnology department as well as from horticulture. I have seen Dr. Vijay Kaur, who is also working on medicinal plants project.
Seema, that is by NVRI, CSR NVRI, not by CSR Seema. Dr. PK Singh is working on that, and that's a gene from corn. That's a gene from chitinase gene, a chitinase homologous gene from corn, which is having anti-insect activity, anti-white fly, and they have proved that gene is actually killing the white fly, and they have published a paper in Nature Biotechnology. So you can get that paper and read it.
Hello, Sasari sir. Excuse me.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Sasari sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
One thing, sir, that you have mentioned in Assam that some varieties of citronella and all suitable for flat prone areas.
Yeah.
So can we popularize that technology? Maybe might be used technology. That
sir.
will be helpful.
Sir, Vetiver already majorly is there. Our people, Ramesh Srivastava, he is working in Aroma Mission. Going right now after Corona, he has not gone, but there is a frequent visit to Assam in Northeast.
So can we have some similar collaboration which us,
Definitely, we will be providing planting material free. We will be providing distillation unit free. If you identify, you can have an MOU with us in Aroma Mission. And today, tomorrow, we are going to have a MOU with some private company to purchase the essential oil from the farmer's field. So like this, we can have some MOU or some collaboration in Aroma Mission.
Kindly do that, sir.
Definitely.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Those extracts are being used. There are some small here and there report, but proving those things completely, as you know, clinical trials or something like that, I have not come across. But there are reports.
I see Dr. Sandeep Lal from IARI. Hello, Dr. Sandeep Lal. Dr. Sandeep Lal.
He is mute, it seems.
Okay, I think I'm not audible to him probably. Okay.
Yeah. Now it is. So, sir, I thank you very much for a very good presentation on a very unique topic, medicinal and aromatic plants. My question was just related because I am a seed technologist. So I wanted to know what is the status of seed technology research with respect to medicinal and aromatic plants, and can we have some collaboration in this respect with your institution?
Sure. This seed technology research is meager. I mean, you can say very less. Only it is limited to testing the germination of the seed in medicinal and aromatic plants. So any other collaborations will be welcome. And our genetist who is working on medicinal aromatic plant, if you give me your number, I will get it. I'll tell him your number and you can in touch and have collaboration in medicinal aromatic plants.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir. We will love to collaborate with your institution, and we would like to work on seed technology research in this very important plant, because they are going to be very important in the near future. So
Yes.
we hope to we hope to collaborate you in very shortly. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks. Artemisia annua, actually, Artemisia annua, it is used for anti-malarial purpose. And this is what is actually it is actually doing. It is because it is a endoperoxide lactam molecule. Oxygen is there. Also, it helps hemoglobin to carry the oxygen to the lungs. So definitely, it may be of some help, but unless and until it is being tested, so you cannot say. Just like other plants by some major company, unless and until it is being tested, I cannot make a comment. But definitely, Ashwagandha Ujanam, artemisinin, not artemisinin, whole Artemisia annua extract as such. It has been reported by the Germany as well as Madagascar people also, and recently it has come up from BHU. Incidentally, she is our student from our lab. So people are working on this. But unless and until you test against the virus COVID-19, it is difficult to say. From accession number from if you deposit in CMAP, then you get the accession number. If someone get it from CSR CMAP, then he will get the accession number.
Thank you, Dr. Sasani. It's very nicely you have covered very comprehensively, and it's everything is somewhat new for us. We didn't know this much works are going on in medicinal and aromatic plants, although we are living with many of the medicinal and aromatic plants here. So this webinar was sponsored by our NAHEP cell. So nodal officer of NAHEP in this university is Dr. Kishore Sharma. He is online. I'd like to request him to just speak a few words on this webinar. Dr. Kishore Sharma, please. Hello. Dr. Kishore Sharma.
Am I audible now?
Yeah. Please go on.
What I am doing, I will tell you. What I am doing, I will tell you. I am going for ashwagandha root powder, 1 teaspoon with a glass of water in the night. Morning I am going for tulsi and some giloy, Vinoptra powder, tea, morning. And daytime when I am getting time, then I go for green tea. That's all. That I am doing right now. But Tinospora and Udania, that is ashwagandha, having Udanan, it's having good means immunity enhancer, and tulsi.
Dr. Kishore Sharma, probably he is online now.
Honorable Head of the Department of Plant Breeding and Genetics, today's resource person Dr. Adit Sassani, and the other faculty members and student friends.
Your voice is not coming properly.
Is it? Hello? Am I audible, sir? Am I audible, sir? Am I audible?
Probably you speak a bit louder.
Yeah, my voice is already loud. Hello? Hello? Hey,
Yes, it's audible.
Okay.
Thank you. So, Honorable Head of the Department Plant Breeding and Genetics, Dr. Adit Sassani, today's research person of lecture series, and other faculty members and student friends. It gives me immense pleasure to thank Dr. Adit Sassani for his thought-provoking presentation on medicinal and aromatic plants. He presented his scientific deliberations in a very interesting way, and we are thankful to you for sharing very useful topic along with the recent development in math. So we also feel proud that Dr. Sassani is the alumni of Assam Agricultural University, and we wish you all the best, Mr. Dr. Sassani.
Thank you, sir.
And our always we hope that you will succeed in life, and hope that you will come here and we will share some more views in near future. And thanks to Head of the Department, faculty members for organizing such a useful lecture series with such a renowned personality of this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, nothing to say much. Dr. Sassani has covered all the things very nicely. It was very educative, particularly for the students. Undergraduate students also probably could learn something about the medicinal and aromatic plants. He has, in some of the slides, he has shown the traditional methods of breeding, how that can be carried out in medicinal plants, and also he is so he has shown the modern techniques, that is molecular biological techniques, how with this the genomes of the medicinal and aromatic plants can be modified, or rather, and the plants can be improved, varieties can be developed. It is a very nice presentation, actually very educative, and really is very nicely he has covered all the things. And it is also an important area of research, probably in Assam Agricultural University or other universities. Since it is not a mandate crop for Assam Agricultural University, so far not much has been done. Only in network project, Dr. Bijit Saud, who was interacting with you sometime back, that is going on. Then there is recently, 1 year back or a couple of years back, a big project has also come to the university on medicinal plants. There may be little works in some other centers also that I am not very aware about that, but otherwise it is a area where probably we have to give lot more importance in the future. So future is very bright for this area. If somebody wants to do research, let's say MSc, PhD, or even in faculty research, it is an virgin area in Assam and Northeast India. So thank you, Dr. Sassani, for sparing your valuable time and agreeing to present this seminar online. And it is an opportunity so that we could connect you over online, and some participants from far and away That is, I have seen some participants from Kerala, from IIL, New Delhi, and also participants who are just traveling. They are also attending this seminar. That is the beauty of this system. So, thank you very much. Hope to see you sometime here or maybe elsewhere. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Bye. Namaskar.